Hey guys, let's move on to our main topic. So, what are we talking about today, Cody?
We are talking about physical media versus digital in gaming.
Whatever happened to game midgets?
No, we covered that.
All night long.
Yeah.
Giggity giggity.
Yeah.
Oh. So, digital versus physical stuff. Because we are moving into a digital society.
Yeah, it's gonna be nobody's gonna own it. You know, like your whole rack right here. Nobody's gonna own multiple games anymore. The next system will probably just be digital. You won't even have a disc drive on it.
It's interesting because did you guys know, like, a lot of video game sellers on eBay will try to sell Nintendo games in media mail, but you can't sell it media mail because it's not considered media under the rules. Because what people don't realize, or they realize but they don't think about it, a Nintendo game or a cartridge game of any kind is a circuit board with a plastic cover.
Right. People
don't realize that. The CD-based games are considered media, or in the realm of media mail. And it's funny because if you go to the post office and that you tell them video games, and a lot of times they'll just say you can't send video games, but you can send PS1, 2, those kinds of games. And it's really funny.
That's fun. Like, it would make a difference. You're just trying to mail something.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't be a big deal, but they have all the rules.
That's just like you can ship wine, but you can't ship beer. It's illegal.
And there's more alcohol in wine than there is in beer. I mean, that's so stupid. But wine's, rich people drink.
Right, that's the whole deal. So,
Yeah.
it's okay there, but if you wanted to send somebody a case of beer, you can't.
It's hoity-toity.
Right.
But, go ahead.
No, it's interesting, just looking at your wall over here, you've got all the really cool, if you guys don't know, Jason makes his own cases. He cuts them out, and he'll make, hard shell cases for old NES games, which we all know had the old kind of plastic, old cardboard cases, which nobody kept. And they're fun to keep, it's a collection. But then you get into, okay, well, are you keeping it to have the collection, or are you keeping it to actually play the game? Jason and I were a bit of both, but people are different. Some people might just keep it on their shelf, and run an emulator. It's because it's easier to, hook up your laptop to a TV that's got, 15 or 16 systems you're playing on, and 30 systems, whatever.
People have,
As opposed to having to cook all the different ones together, and, like my TV, I've got 6 different systems running on it right now, so.
Yeah. People have asked me, they say, you make why do you make why do people buy reproduction NES games and Super NES games? And I said, well, the reason why is they like to have that physical copy on the shelf. And it's a collector thing. And there's something special about playing it on original hardware as opposed to playing on an emulator. And then, like, nowadays, we have a lot of those, like I play the PlayStation, so I get a lot of the PSN games, the little indie games. A lot of these indie games are never released on a disc. They're all, on the system. They don't actually exist, but you can play them.
Right.
But it's really a. I'm one of those where I don't mind as much. Like, I like to have, like, physical copies, but for example, I have a modded PS1.
Right.
But there's a lot of games that are real expensive.
Yeah.
Or there's games I'm not sure I want to get, so I'll make a copy of it. I'll burn a copy on a little 50-cent CD, or 33-cent, because I get 3 for $1, at the dollar store. Little 33-cent CD, and I can get the game and try it out, and then, I'll eventually get a copy if it's something I want. And, because I played, recently I made a copy of Valkyrie Profile, and that's about $100 game, give or take. And I can't afford it right now, and I wanted to try it out.
Sure. Well, you don't want to pop down $100 for a game you've never even tried.
Right, and that's the thing. That's what I like about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. It's just
and
like
emulators.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about, I wanted to play Gotcha Force, which is a 3D mech fighter on the GameCube. It's like a $100 minimum game. I've seen it go up to $365 on Amazon. It's nuts. Yeah, it's crazy. But I wanted to try out the game, so I had to download a GameCube emulator and try it out. Now, I mean, if it was within my means to get it, I definitely would. But I wouldn't be able to play the game without the emulator. So you got to take that into consideration too. A lot of these kids, they wouldn't be able to go and play, like your some of your repros here for Castlevania sitting on the thing, you know, they wouldn't even be able to try it out or know what classic Castlevania is without an emulator.
Yeah.
So I like that about it. But it's never going to be, to us, I don't think, like holding something in your hand. Almost like digital comics to me. It's not like holding a comic book in my hand and reading it.
That's a big thing, you know, owning 2 comic shops that I have in my life. And I keep thinking about, like, the comic shop is one of those places where people will go and hang out. Comic people like to go and hang out. Kind of like a video game shop. People like to go and just hang out. In the mom and pop shops, not so much at GameStop. So it's like any of those old places. And in Las Vegas, there's this place called Dreamwell Comics, and they were there for about 35, almost 40 years.
This, yeah.
And these guys, I started going in there, excuse me, I started going in there when I was 16 years old. And they closed down just a few, like 4 or 5 years ago, you know, in my 30s. And these guys were around for 15 years when I started going in there. They were around pretty much all my life. And when I went around when I was a teenager, and everybody I knew in comics, they all went there. They were in Vegas. And we kind of joked, we were like, there are, you know, these guys, Don and Tim, they were these brothers, and we kind of joked that they were our, you know, unofficial uncles, pretty much. Because you could go in there and just talk about stuff for hours and talk about movies and comics and things. And these guys were in their 50s at the point when they closed. And the smell. You'd walk in, and this old book smell would just hit you, and it was the best smell in the world.
Well, and it's, you know, it's nice to have a reason, you know, a community to go out and do things you like, but have a reason to leave. You know, it's kind of a bummer. Jason and I can talk on the phone and be like, hey, you know, Dark Souls 2, it's great, but you know, it's not the same experience of me watching Jason play Dark Souls 2. I mean, if it's just like arcades, you know, it's never going to be the same to stand next to a guy and, you know, kick his ass on Mortal Kombat or get your ass kicked on Mortal Kombat if you're me. And
or play online.
Exactly. Then to play online, and you know, you've got a little 12-year-old kid yelling at you, and it's one of those things too. You probably wouldn't in an actual arcade. You wouldn't go next to a 12-year-old kid and play him Mortal Kombat. You'd go over there with your buddy, or you'd wait for somebody that's, you know, about your age or whatever. But you probably wouldn't go play a little 10-year-old and lose to him because you don't want to have to deal with that situation.
And the other thing is that we, as a society, we're starting to lose our social skills.
Absolutely.
People are, you know, that's why we have the term troll, you know, because people are trolling for comments. I don't know if you know this, but Robert and I did a show on it. Trolling has nothing to do with the mythical creature.
No, it's to do with destroying a community or conversation just
No.
reason.
It's a fishing term.
Oh, I didn't know that.
When you troll fishing, it's called trolling. You throw the line out, and you have a motor, and you drive real slow.
Right.
It's basically trolling is fishing for negative attention or negative comments.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, well, that's the deal. They go in and try to derail.
Yeah,
the
now
whole
they do the whole
conversation.
don't feed the trolls, and they because people don't know that's what it's from.
Right.
But you know, we have these trolls, and these people are, you know, to begin with, the ones that are like hardcore into it. I was watching a documentary on it the other day, and they actually interviewed this guy, and of course he didn't want his face to be shown. Big man, and he says, I don't have any, you know, I'm not bothered about trolling people at all, and you can tell he's in his 50s. And he had a wedding ring on, so this guy's married, I assume.
Just wants to be a dick in his spare time.
And it's like, you know, to act like this is not stuff that people would say in real life.
Sure. Well, it wouldn't be allowed. You'd be kicked out.
Well, no, you'd get beat up.
Or people just not listen to you, you know? So I think that would happen a lot, too, especially adults. I don't know that they'd beat you up unless you were in a bar or something. But if somebody's just trying to derail a conversation, everybody just stop talking. Like, don't talk to that guy. He's an asshole.
Yeah, and on the internet, they do what they do.
Yeah.
And it's funny, because I mean, I've had my share of trolly people on this channel.
Sure.
And I just block them and delete them. I don't even talk to them. I don't care. And they always seem to have more than one account.
Yeah.
Because they're so used to getting kicked off and
you know,
it's just,
being able to steer a direct conversation is an art. It's interesting. You know, I'm a salesman. That's what I do. But use it for positive things. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't use it just to be a dick. Don't use your powers for good. Don't use your powers for evil.
And that's the thing. As a society, we're getting to where it's easier for people to talk through a computer or through a phone, you know, some sort of electronic device, than to just talk in person.
Yeah.
Or, there is actually, I was talking to this older lady back when I worked, years, at least a lot of years now, when I had a job, and she was telling me back when, and she's probably about 70 now, close to 70 years old. And she was telling me how back then, when she was younger, there was the art of women, after they would get the kids off to school and the husband would go off to work and women pretty much stayed at home at that time, they would go over to the neighbor's house and have coffee and just chat. And that's something people don't do anymore.
No. It'd be like, if somebody, you're a homeowner, somebody moves in your neighborhood, you go out and greet the new guy. You're like, hey, welcome to the neighborhood.
Here's something else. Here's something else I've noticed. When I go to a friend's house, they don't say, would you like something to eat or drink?
That's true.
Or something to drink. Would you like something to drink? Would you like something to eat? That's just how I was raised.
Of course, I walk in here and just go get water, but we hang out.
Well, that's because he knows I don't care.
Yeah.
And, but I always feed you.
Yeah,
when you come over, I always ask you want something to eat, want something to drink, or if you just come over and just get something.
Another one I get all the time that drives me nuts is introducing people. We've got
this is so and so. They just walk in and then you don't even know this person, and then you have to say, "Hey, I'm."
Like when you came in, I was like, "Oh, this is my roommate. This is his brother." You know what I mean? I hate that because you're just like, "Oh, hi." Now you have to introduce, which I'm just used to it.
It's like people are afraid. People don't know to do these things, and I just think it's real weird. You go to someone's house now and they don't even offer. It was a custom to offer something to drink or something to eat. And you don't have to make them a meal, but offer like a snack or something. And usually people say no, thank you, or they'll just take something to drink.
Right.
And it's a custom, and it seems to be dying out because people don't. Everybody's so used to being away from people, and it reminds me of the Isaac Asimov's book series, I, Robot.
Yeah.
And not the first book, but the second, third, and fourth book. Basically, regular humans on Earth were afraid to go outside. They lived in domes and underground, like not underground, but in like covered areas. And they were like used to being around people. But the people on other planets, you would have 200 people that lived on one planet, and they would be so far apart they'd have to. They did this thing called viewing, where they would have like a hologram in someone else's house. That's how they interacted. But
kind of like our Skype now.
Yeah, kind of like Skype and stuff, but except this was actual holograms. But you never actually went and saw the person physically. And because it was like so strange for them.
Sure.
But yet the human in there, the detective, he had trouble going out into the sunlight in one part. He was like terrified. Because humans on Earth were totally different than the humans on other planets.
Well, I think there is, I think there's still a social aspect to it, and I think,
it's very social.
We've got in bigger cities, about an hour from us, there's a game shop. They'll do like Friday night fights, they call it, and they'll play Street Fighter or Smash or whatever. You'll come in, try to get the highest score on Double Dragon.
We're still very social,
stuff like that. Yeah.
But it's different. It's gotten to where it's not that we're not social. We're just losing some of our social graces.
We're losing some of the niceties to it. For sure.
Yeah, that's what it is. You have more people that are talking tough online, or on a game system. You have these people, the so-called trolls, or just the assholes online. People say things that they wouldn't say in real life. Yet we have they're losing like those niceties and those social graces. But we are more social. We interact more than anything, but we do it from a safe distance. You can sit there and know, like, I have all these Dark Souls buddies I'll end up playing Dark Souls with online. I've never met them. I talked to one of them on through our headsets because we were playing and we were using the headset feature. But it's it's one of those things where you just it's just different now. But but the topic is we're talking about digital versus physical. And that's the other thing. If we don't have like the game shops, we don't have the physical anymore. We can't go in and shop.
Right. And it's one of those things too, you can't it's going to get to the point also where you're not going to be able to let a buddy borrow a game. You know, Xbox wanted to do this DRM thing where you actually had like you could have your circle, and in your circle, say I was in your circle, what they wanted to do is, say you bought a game.
Glad they got rid of that.
Right. Say you bought a game. You could log onto your system and play it, or I could log onto my system and play it, check it out. Well, I mean, it's a cool idea, but at the end of the day, I mean, can't I just hand them a disc? You know what I mean? Isn't it just easier? Here, Jason, go check this out. You know, I'll see you next week. Tell me what you thought of it. Stuff like that.
It's easier that way. It's sometimes keeping it simple is a better way.
It's one of those things. I think life is all about options, just like gaming. I think gaming is all about options. It's cool to have the ability for a friend to log on and see your feed. That's fine.
We were talking about options. We were talking about third and first person, because my big thing is give me an option between first and third.
Right, like Skyrim does.
Yeah.
And I just hate that. It's all about not limiting the player. You want them to be able to do more stuff. And it's the same in life. You know, I want to be able to hand him a disc. If he wants to be able to log on my feed and see what I'm doing, that's cool too. But I don't think one should replace the other. If you want to do digital media, I'm fine with that. But I still think there's enough people out there that you've got, that'll buy some physical copies. But it is dying. It's slowly, and that's the thing. Are we just going to go, do you think it'll go full digital? Or do you think we'll always have just a little
It's
niche
hard
group?
to say. I think if we do go full digital, it'll be for a time, and there might be where people start saying they don't like the idea, because then it's like, well, where do we have to make sure to store this stuff?
That's true.
And that's fine. I mean, we have tons of information, but places to store. And I'm sure that if something happens, they'll always have backups. I'm sure they'll have physical backups, but it just seems like it just takes so much out of the collectability and the fun that goes into video game collecting.
Sure. Well, and it's like we were talking, it's becoming big business for some of these things. I mean, you've got games that'll go for hundreds of dollars. So that's why I think there needs to be a balance.
I get tired of all that.
Oh yeah, that's why there's got to be a balance. That's why I'm not against emulation. People keep asking me, do you think it's wrong that they're downloading these games? No, because half the stuff I've played I wouldn't even got to try just because of the sheer price of it.
Right, just like when I make burn copies for my PS1 so I can try a game.
Exactly, or like we want to go out and mod our Sega Saturns just to try some of these crazy imports and all these great games. I'd love to try Panzer Dragoon, but it's $3 or $4 games sometimes.
Yeah. And
I'd love to play it, but I don't know that it's worth $300 or $400.
Yeah, Panzer Dragoon
of my time. There's a lot of things we could do for $300 or $400. So.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, but I see society going that way, but I don't know if we'll stay that way. We may get to where we're like, there's no more fun in it.
Yeah, and I think it always gets to where old is new again. Because if you look back, they didn't make records forever, and now they make vinyl, they make records again. It's cool. Yeah. The kind of geek chic kind of thing to go get a record and play it. It's not my deal, but there's a lot of people that are into it.
Yeah, it's the retro
so thing. I think if it does go away, it'll find its way back, because you're going to get oh man, they used to have cartridges, and wow, how weird is this? How cool is this to be able to hold it in your hand? There'll be a whole generation that's never got to do that before, and I think that would be they'd come back. It'd be retro, like you said.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I like the physicals, because a lot of times they'll have a sale on like recently I got Resident Evil Revelations, and it was on sale for $9.99 last weekend, and I want an actual copy of the game, and for the PS3, but for $9.99 I can't say no.
Can't pass it up
because I can't afford the other one.
That's I don't have get a little off topic, but that's where comics are kind of falling behind, I think, because they want you. Your print comic right now is about $4 or $5, and your digital comic they want $3 to $4 for it. I'm just like,
the problem with comics nowadays is that the stories, you can read them in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, I'm going to plop down a $5 bill to get this issue. I can wait. If I'll wait 3 to 6 months, I'll get the trade, and I'll
get
plop
a novel.
Yeah.
For $4.
Right.
A real novel.
Right, or you can plop down, $10 or $15 for the trade, and you've got about an hour's worth of reading there, or,
yeah,
half hour, or whatever.
It's just terrible. God.
Yeah. That's a whole different comic. We'll probably do. Maybe
When I was a kid,
Yeah.
comics were $1.
we'll do another comic show, but
Well, 65 cents when I first started.
yeah, I know they were $3 when I started. So
When I used to
Or two.
ride my bike to Thrifties to buy X-Men comics for $1, and then it went up to $1.25. I remember.
that's what Grandpa Jason used to do.
Eh? What?
We had to record this because you couldn't hear me for half of it. So we had to, what are you saying?
Don't argue, Sonny.
Yeah, you and your digital media.
Back in my day, we had to walk 100 miles to get to the computer store.
You know, that's part of it though. We talk about this stuff. You know, are we just gonna be passed by? Are you old people with your physical media? I don't.
I'm
think,
already hearing that. People already say that I'm. I was doing the podcast with Robert. Get this. They were saying I was an old guy that knew nothing about gaming. Somebody said that.
Well, you're an old guy. I don't know nothing about gaming.
Yeah, I said, about modern gaming, even though I play modern games
let
every day.
me tell you something, son.
I deal with modern gaming on a daily
You're like, I got a lot of time on my
basis.
hands, and I game for like 10 hours a day. So
Yeah, I game about
I know.
12 hours a day.
Told
Yeah,
you
10
told
to
you years
12
ago.
hours.
I was like, this is what you should do. You should sell this.
You were right. I should have. I
Don't know. It's one of the,
I don't know.
and you know what? I think you had to discover it on your own. You can't force
Yeah,
somebody into a hobby.
I liked it, and I remember I used to play my Genesis and stuff in the store.
It's just like
It's just
I like going out and golfing now, but when I was a kid, my dad wanted to force it on me, and I didn't. You know what I mean? That was work to me. I didn't want to do it. But then I got older, and I'm like, well, what was I thinking? I should have been golfing every day.
Yeah.
But you have to let people discover things that
yeah.
for themselves.
Because I used to play my Genesis in the store. I had a couple games I liked.
That's what I was saying. You had this Genesis and SNES, and I was like,
Yeah.
hey, hook this thing up. We get some classic games in here, get some comics. And
Yeah, I would
phone it.
just play. I was just playing just for when I didn't have anything going on,
Yeah,
and it was just fun. I was just playing, but
but
I don't
yeah,
know.
back to. I was just thinking about that. Like Dynasty Wars Gundam, the new one just came out and it's only digital. There's no physical copy, which drives me nuts. I want to buy it. I don't want to have to download it and keep it on my hard drive. I mean, what if you're out of hard drive space? That's another thing.
I've been having that problem with
Yeah.
my PS3. I need to get a 500 gig. I got the 160.
See, I've got the 5, but I've filled up 250 of it probably already.
Really?
Yeah, just some different
I'll
saves.
trade you.
No,
Could have my 160.
no.
Oh,
Well, does the 160 play PS2 games?
yeah.
No. Yeah.
Sure it does.
You know what's strange? What's weird to me is they cut out the chip that plays PS2 games on the 500s and the 160s and some of the other models or whatever.
Yeah. All you could get now are like the digital PS2 games.
But it plays the PS1 games. That's so weird to me.
Because PS1 games are like basically a CD.
Yeah, I guess it's just
You know what? I don't know. I don't think the PS4 plays PS1, but I haven't never tried.
no. The PS4 does not play even the 3s, and the reason being.
Well, I can understand not the 2s or 3s, but I'm just wondering,
The
like,
ones,
the 1s
'cause
are
they're
so
the-
simple.
Yeah. No, but it's one of those things, and this goes back to digital media, even more so not owning it. What they're going to do is they're going to start a series. It's called PlayStation Now, this program. It's going to be like Netflix
I've
of
seen
gaming.
it.
And all they're going to do is
It's a ripoff. I don't like it at all.
well, right now it is, but it could get to be, if they actually did a decent...
4 hours, $3 for 4 hours, and I'm
yeah,
like...
it's not going to work. But if,
a lot of times I'm like, I can just buy the game!
Yeah. But if they got to where, say for $20 a month, you could stream as much as you wanted up to this library of PS1, PS2, PS3.
I'd get it.
And some 4s, yeah. And that's another way it could go. The only thing is I haven't personally streamed games, so I don't know. I mean, I have a really good connection, but a lot of people don't, And I have a fast internet connection, but there's a lot of people out there that are barely pulling, they could download an album maybe, and that'd be about it. You've got to have, just an online game. You've got to have a decent system.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You have the same cable I do now, don't you?
Yeah, I do. It's pretty quick.
'Cause you saw how fast mine was.
Yeah, it's fast. I have Comcast now. It's real quick.
Yeah, Comcast is
so
great.
I think I'd be able to stream, but I've never tried it. So that's. But are we going to get to the point where maybe we stream everything? Because that's TV looks like it's going that way. Games can go that way too. Even more into the digital.
TV does. I stream constantly all day long.
We were on YouTube right now. So
yeah, YouTube, Netflix. And then they got things like Crackle,
so
WWE
that's part
Network.
of it. Yeah. And I think about that on online distribution. That might be the way to go, so you don't get all these microtransactions of $10 for this.
I'm so sick. I don't even. I
$20 for
can't
that.
stand microtransactions.
Yeah. So that's part of it. I mean, maybe, if you want to own it, you go buy that physical copy, but maybe if you want to play it digitally, hey, it's on your digital library on PlayStation Now or whatever you want to do. But then you've got to get into licensing for games, which is a big deal too, you know. But maybe that could be the end of region locking finally, because everybody else has kind of done away with that except Nintendo for whatever reason, who has all the games I want to import.
Nintendo seems to always be the last one to change.
Yeah, they're very they're very set in their ways. It's like when they developed the Wii U, they wanted all these developers just to kind of learn to make games for their system. Well, they kind of Ubisoft and all those guys said no. Xbox and Sony, they asked us, what should I put in this system? That's part of it. And I'm a huge Nintendo fan, but I mean that's part of it too. They didn't talk to them. That's why they're not getting any of the third-party titles.
Yeah, it's a shame because
And Nintendo, talking about the streaming idea, Nintendo would be the best one to do it. They have the biggest library that you could go back to. I mean, from the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, all these, probably 20 years more ahead of Microsoft for sure, but probably at least 15 ahead of Sony of just library.
Yeah, they
games.
have a lot of forgotten franchises,
and they pretty much own the handheld market. I mean, there's no competition right now.
It's funny because
he's the only one I know of a Vita.
Yeah, because the Vita I would say the Vita is it's better than the 3DS.
Oh, well, it better be for the price they're charging for it.
It's better than the 3DS, but it doesn't have the support that the 3DS has, and the buyers.
And that's another thing too. I mean, digital with the handhelds is huge because it's all about portability. Take it wherever you want. If you don't have to load a game into it, not that the games are big, but it just goes more hand in hand with that portability. Or when you bought my buddy bought the 3DS, the gold version with Zelda, the new Zelda on it. I forgot the name of the Link to the Past sequel.
Yeah,
and it's preloaded on there. It's not even. I mean, you don't even have the physical copy, which would drive me nuts because it's like you're getting the game, but you're not. To me, you're getting the game, but you're not getting the game.
Yeah.
With the Xbox Ones we were selling at work, you got a digital download code for Titanfall. It's like, no, I want Titanfall.
I know, it's so weird because back then they used to just pack games in.
Yep.
Another thing I want to talk about, since we're on the subject, is of backwards compatibility. People get mad now if it doesn't have it, but backwards compatibility is a very new thing.
It's a new idea, but it does upset me.
It didn't start till the PS2.
Yeah, it upsets me though.
See, why?
It upsets me because I feel like it's something they could easily do. And I also feel it gets rid of my investment when they don't. Like when I went from the PlayStation to the PlayStation 2, all my old controllers, my analogs, they worked for the PS2. And all along, the 3 comes and my cards your memory cards worked. It gave you a return on your investment. It's still, Nintendo works a little bit that way too. You've got the Wiimotes. The Wiimotes work on the Wii U. So I have a bunch of controllers. They could at least, I think, give me that. I'm not even asking for games so much as hardware support. That way I don't have to replace all this stuff. Because not everybody wants to go out and buy 3 brand new DualShock 4 controllers that are $60 a pop or $50 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So show these people that that have been customers for years, at least that their hardware is still decent. But yeah, I think they should have. I think you should have some backwards compatibility, at least with your previous generation, because not everybody has the funds to go get a brand new library. Or you might not have a brand new library entirely, And it gives them, if you've got a backwards compatible system, all of a sudden you can sell your 3 and still keep your games and go buy your PS4. And now you've got a little bit of funding to start it. It just helps the whole process, and it keeps games in circulation because people are selling their old systems because they don't need them. It lets them have a little bit of funding. Well, but it's a big problem. They need to, and it needs to stop.
Well, all right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic.
All right.